I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
So what do you think? Does it come in black?
This iconic line from Christopher Nolan's 2005 Bat flick highlights the intentions of the movie perfectly, which was to move away from the cartoonish mess that was Batman and Robin and delve deeper into the psyche of both Batman and Bruce Wayne. Gone are the Batsuit nipples, and instead we have a more intimidating suit, bladed gloves, and a military prototype tank. We're therefore about to get darker, grittier, and more raspy
I'm Batman.
on today's DC Revisited as we descend into a cave of bats with Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins.
It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.
Despite studio interference and director Joel Schumacher basically being instructed to direct a McDonald's Happy Meal advertisement, his much maligned Batman and Robin was in fact a much more important part of the DC movie universe, with Kevin Feige himself paying the movie a backhanded compliment in 2009 when he said, "Batman and Robin may be the most important comic book movie ever made." It was so bad that it demanded a new way of doing things. The franchise lay dormant until 2003, when Warner Brothers hired Christopher Nolan, fresh from directing the similarly dark Memento in 2000 and Insomnia in 2002, to reboot the character of Batman, changing the way superhero movies were made forever. Although Nolan didn't invent the origin story for the superhero genre, he did nonetheless ensure that any franchise reboot would be told through an origin story for the foreseeable future. Nolan stated his intention to reinvent the film franchise of Batman was by doing the origin story of the character, which is a story that's never been told before. Thanks for watching DC Films Revisited. If you enjoy our shows, please subscribe to our channel right now, like this video, and click on the bell so you can be notified each time a new video comes up. Now, back to the show. Back in 1989, when the much-loved Michael Keaton incarnation of the character was born in Tim Burton's Batman, audiences were introduced to a seemingly unhinged guy who likes to dress up like a bat and fight crime. However, they never fully understood or were told why this was the case. Nolan therefore went one step further and dedicated the film to answering the question of what Batman's motivations are and how he became Gotham's Dark Knight. He also wanted to make the film as realistic as possible, stating that the world of Batman is that of grounded reality. It will be a recognizable contemporary reality against which an extraordinary heroic figure arises. With some absolutely fantastic casting choices in previous Batman movies, TV shows, and even the animated series, plus some not so excellent ones, the pressure was on Nolan and Warner Brothers to deliver a suitably iconic Batman. Peaky Blinders' own Cillian Murphy auditioned for the role in the full Batsuit and was strongly considered, before eventually being cast as the villainous and manipulative Scarecrow. Screenwriter David S. Goyer stated that the production needed somebody who could portray both personalities of Batman and Bruce Wayne, and they went with an actor who they believed had just the correct balance of darkness and light required for the role: Christian Bale. Bale had already proven he could play unhinged in 2000's American Psycho, and his physical transformation in 2004's The Machinist showed that he was willing to immerse himself into his roles entirely. He had lost so much weight for his character in the film that he hired a personal trainer to help him bulk up and gain the 100 pounds required for the role of Batman, and he did this all in a span of only a few months. Realizing he had actually bulked up a tad too much for the role, He then had to shed 30 pounds by the time that cameras rolled, and trained with fight choreographer Eric ORAM in Wing Chun Kung Fu for the role.
Master Wayne, you've been gone a long time.
Yes, I have.
You look very fashionable. Apart from the mud.
Taking over the role of Alfred from the legendary Michael Gough was always going to be a big ask. And after being rejected by Anthony Hopkins, Nolan and his team pursued another English acting legend, Michael Caine.
Not many people know that.
Nolan even went to Caine's country home to hand-deliver the script, and insisted on him reading the part of Alfred then and there, instead of leaving Caine with the script. Such is the secretive nature of the director. Nolan felt that Caine would effectively portray the foster father element of the character, and he even devised his own backstory, with Alfred having served in the Special Air Force and subsequently being invited into the Wayne household by Thomas Wayne after he was wounded during conflict. Caine brought the perfect blend of warmth, toughness, and English wit to the character.
What is the point of all those push-ups if you can't even lift a bloody log?
With the key members of the Wayne household cast, it was up to the production team to assemble the film's antagonists, and with Nolan's vision to keep the movie as grounded as possible, there would be no place for the likes of Mr. Freeze to whip out one-liners in this version of Gotham.
All right, everyone, chill.
No siree. Instead, sticking to the theme of fear throughout the movie, Nolan introduced Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow, also known as Jonathan Crane, one of Batman's oldest foes, and famously uses fear and torment to get the better of his opponents. With the movie centering on Batman's evolution, there arguably wasn't time to fully flesh out the introduction of a signature villain such as Joker or Riddler. Therefore, Nolan also brought in Ra's al Ghul alongside Scarecrow to showcase two characters who had never had a live-action movie depiction, and therefore not as much pressure is attached to them. Ra's, or Raz as it's pronounced both ways in the film, is played by former Jedi Master Liam Neeson, a plot point that isn't revealed until later in the movie. Until then, Bruce had thought that a decoy played by Ken Watanabe was Ra's al Ghul and had been killed when the League of Shadows temple had burned down earlier in the film. Another character who first appeared in the DC comics and plays a pivotal role in Batman Begins is Carmine the Roman Falcone, a top mafia boss in Gotham who controls the city's non-supervillain criminal underworld. He teams up with Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow in order to smuggle ingredients into Gotham to unleash a fear toxin on its residents, with Crane using his influence as head of Arkham Asylum to ensure Falcone's henchmen are ruled insane and therefore not imprisoned. When Batman manages to orchestrate Falcone's arrest by Gotham police, the mafia boss tries to blackmail Crane and soon realizes that this was not a wise decision.
Well, he's not faking. Not that one.
Two other villainous characters, whose roles are smaller but still pivotal to the plot, are Victor Zsasz, played by Tim Booth, and Richard Brake's Joe Chill. Zsasz is one of the deadliest villains in the whole DC universe, and he likes to torture and carve out a mark on his unlucky victims. In the film, he's an assassin for Falcone and plays an important role in the chaotic scenes in the Narrows. Joe Chill, on the other hand, first appeared in DC Comics way back in 1939, and in most depictions of Batman's origin story, he's a mugger who shoots and kills Bruce Wayne's parents, Thomas and Martha, in an alley outside of a movie theater. He's mostly been portrayed as a low-life hood looking to rob the rich and wealthy, and gives Batman a good reason to hate all criminals, whether they are petty or higher up in the mob food chain. There's clearly no room for horny therapists in Nolan's universe. Darn. So for his trilogy opener, he opted for the rather strange casting of Katie Holmes, who was brought in to play new character Rachel Dawes, a childhood friend and love interest of Bruce Wayne. With the right actor in the role, the character of Rachel should have been a worthy foil to Bale's Bruce Wayne, with their childhood friendship being an interesting dimension to establish and grow. However, although Holmes' performance begins well enough in early scenes, her performance ultimately comes across as flat and lacking in sentiment, feelings, or emotions. It's no surprise that she was nominated for a Worst Supporting Actress Razzie in 2006, and makes her omission from sequel The Dark Knight an interesting debate for our next video. Other notable members of the Bat cast were Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox, who initially ran Wayne Enterprises and went on to become Batman's armorer, supplying him with gadgets, the aforementioned tumbler, and also providing the cure for Scarecrow's fear toxin. Rounding out the cast was English acting legend Gary Oldman as James Gordon, who, despite becoming increasingly frustrated and despondent about the rise of violent crime and corruption in Gotham, forges a great partnership with Batman to help clean the streets once and for all. Gordon's character arc throughout the film and the subsequent sequels is a major highlight and is a great foil for Batman to work alongside. Rutger Hauer plays William Earl, the CEO of Wayne Enterprises, and Gus Lewis plays the young Bruce Wayne, who we see falling into a cave of bats early in the film. This is a pivotal scene that drives Bruce to face his own fears by becoming that very fear himself. The score for Batman Begins was composed by frequent Nolan collaborator Hans Zimmer, who teamed up with James Newton Howard, who's best known for his work on Pretty Woman, The Fugitive, and King Kong, to create the music. Nolan wanted the split personality of Bruce Wayne and Batman to be signified through the music, and two composers set about writing over 2 hours and 20 minutes of original score, with Zimmer taking on the action beats and Howard the more dramatic elements. When it came to the overall design of the movie, Nolan took inspiration from the 1982 sci-fi epic Blade Runner, and screened the film to a key group of the production team, including cinematographer Wally Pfister. With Nolan's vision for Batman's environment to be believable, he admired Blade Runner's overall aesthetic, describing the world of the film as an interesting lesson on the technique of exploring and describing a credible universe that doesn't appear to have any boundaries. He applied that to Batman Begins, and you can see the inspiration he took from Ridley Scott's classic, especially during the film's city-based set pieces. With the movie's look established, it was then up to Nolan and regular collaborator and production designer Nathan Crowley to create the overall look of Gotham City. In fact, such was the detail that went into the production, Crowley built a model of the city that filled Nolan's garage. They designed it as a huge modern metropolis, and took inspiration from cities such as New York, Chicago, and especially Tokyo, whose elevated freeways and monorails are apparent in the film's standout monorail sequence towards the end. Every Batman to date has had an iconic Batsuit that has left a lasting impression on fans of the series, both in a good way and in a I can't believe they stuck nipples on the Batsuit kind of way. Nolan and his production team wanted their iteration of the suit to be more mobile than previous versions, making it easier for the wearer to fight and crouch when being attacked. Costume designer Lindy Hemming, another regular Nolan collaborator, created the Batsuit in an FX workshop at Shepperton Studios, London, that they co-named Cape Town. See what they did there? Nolan ultimately wanted the suit to have a cape that replicated what he had seen and admired from the graphic novels, with it being able to flow as Batman moved, fought, or soared through the sky while wearing it. The cowl was designed by Nolan, Hemming, and also costume effects supervisor Graham Churchyard, who wanted it to embody the person wearing it as man who has angst. And their overall design certainly displayed this character trait pretty successfully. One of the most memorable designs in the movie that took a major U-turn in both its look and badass abilities is the redesigned Batmobile, or Tumbler as it's affectionately been monikered. Just look back at Batman and Robin's Batmobile, which was a glorified kid's toy, or previous versions from the Schumacher or Burton worlds, which, yeah, they looked cool, but hardly struck fear into Gotham's underworld. In order to create something that aligned with this new Batman's mantra of inducing fear, Nolan and his team therefore created a vehicle that owes much to the tank-like version in Frank Miller's Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. It was a prototype military vehicle designed by Wayne Enterprises as a bridging vehicle, and includes weaponry plus the ability to boost into a rampless jump, an attribute used fully in the movie. 6 working vehicles were used overall for the film, including 2 full-size driving versions. Oh, to be a stunt driver in Hollywood, if only. Batman Begins opened in the United States on June 15, 2005, and brought in almost $49 million at the domestic box office. In 3,858 theaters on a budget of $150 million. It managed to rake in and wrap up its overall domestic total at just over $205 million, and internationally went on to take just over $370 million. The movie didn't set the worldwide box office alight, but was enough of a success both commercially and critically for the head honchos at Warner Brothers to move full steam ahead with production on the next film in the series, The Dark Knight. Review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes gives the movie an approval rating of 84% based on 289 reviews with an average rating of 7.1 out of 10, while critics praise the movie for being able to dive deeper into who Batman is and what motivates him. Even the casting of Christian Bale opposite Katie Holmes drew both criticism and surprising praise from some quarters. American film critic James Berardinelli felt that Bruce and Rachel's relationship didn't work because they lacked the chemistry of other big-screen superhero couples such as Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst in Spider-Man, or Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder in Superman. On the other hand, the UK's Total Film praised the pairing, stating that their characters were so strong that the climactic action scenes can't compare to the frisson of 2 people talking. And the romantic subplot has a spark refreshingly free of Peter Parker and Mary Jane style whining. Maybe they saw a different cut of the movie than most of us? Perhaps one of the most interesting reactions to Nolan's reimagining of Batman came from another director who took on a similar role 20 years prior to its release, Tim Burton, who stated that Nolan captured the real spirit that these kinds of movies are supposed to have anyway. When I did Batman 20 years ago in 1988, or something, it was a different time in comic book movies. You couldn't go into that dark side of the comics yet. The last couple of years, that has become acceptable, and Nolan certainly got more to the root of what the Batman comics are about. Burton's Batman movies were certainly dark, at least in comparison to what had come before them, but like he says, they couldn't necessarily delve too deep into Bruce Wayne or Batman's motivations that the comic series managed to do so well. At the end of the day, Christopher Nolan began his journey into Gotham City and Batman's fear-induced psyche incredibly successfully, with a new Batman and some apparent new rules to boot. After Ra's al Ghul is defeated by Batman, he is left for dead. A move from Nolan and his writers that drew some criticism from fans that felt that they had betrayed Batman's no-death mantra. This would be revised again in future iterations of the character, but the biggest and most tantalizing calling card was revealed literally at the end of the movie, as Jim Gordon shows Batman just who they, and fans of the series, will have to face in the sequel. However, that's a story for next time. Join us, same movie time, same movie channel.